Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is our Wisdom of the Sages daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and your co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Kaustubha, how are you?
Doing good, Raghu.
Doing good. Just coming back from Boston. Had an incredible. It's a sweet weekend when you can just. You teach yoga, but I get to teach philosophy, and you get wrapped up, truthfully teaching, even though it seems like I'm giving, the process is of hearing and chanting. That's the process of self-realization. And so when you speak about these eternal truths that resonate with the soul, it's not like I'm out there affecting people. I'm affecting myself. For me, it's sort of like recalibrating my brain. So yesterday I had the podcast was at 7. And then immediately, first of all, I got to drive there from Rhode Island. So I had like an hour and a half of just listening to lectures in the car, and then the podcast. And then I taught an hour and a half class of just stories of Indian wisdom and etc. And it's just like, it's so healthy for me to hear these things on a regular basis. And of course, and I'm going through this with a bunch of students right now, just like, it's one thing to hear it. It's a whole nother thing to apply it. And it's that commitment to the practice that changes everything. It's the commitment that actually changes the consciousness. So, happy to be here. Happy to be back in the Bhagavatam. If you're new to this Wisdom of the Sages, because we just got to hold down, right?
We got a big bump.
We got a big bump, the Joe Rogan thing. I got like almost 2,000 more followers on Instagram, and we've got like, how many more on the podcast is even more, I think.
It was something like we were getting about 900 listeners per episode before the Joe Rogan thing.
On YouTube or on the podcast?
No, that's all together.
Okay.
It was about 900. Now it's anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah.
It's the Bhagavatam. It's powerful. We say here at Wisdom of the Sages, choose your addictions carefully. It's important. The mind gets addicted to stuff. It gets addicted to television. It gets addicted to sports. It gets addicted to, bagels. It gets addicted to pizza. Everyone's going to choose some addiction. We say get addicted to things that heal us, open us up, open our mind, make us feel connected, bring us north instead of bringing us south. It's very powerful, and it's really simple. And sometimes this stuff can sound like otherworldly, and people, I was just reading some of the comments. I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't read those comments on Joe Rogan, right? How many people how many people are just making...
They seem to either love you or hate you, Raghu.
I know. What is that?
There's not a lot in between.
What is that karma I have that you got to either love me or hate me? Can't I just be pretty good? Can I?
It wasn't a bad podcast. It was all right.
There was none of that. It was like, this guy's a genius, or this guy is a... I wouldn't even be so bad. It's all like ripping into my bodily appearance. It's like stuff you'd say like in 7th grade to really hurt somebody's feelings. I read this one this morning. It was like, that looks like Joe Rogan's older, uglier brother. I was like, ow. I guess it's all meant to get me off the bodily platform.
See, that's your filter there. That's how you interpret it. That's good, Raghu.
Well, it's interesting.
Use it to your advantage.
You use it to your, that's the thing about Bhakti. You can always use it to your advantage, because when things hurt like that, what do they hurt? They just hurt my ego anyway. This guy's a jackass. This guy's an idiot. Yeah, Yeah, you know what I mean? What am I? No, I'm cool. What am I supposed to try to prove my
Fight it.
coolness?
Yeah.
Prove my coolness to them?
You see,
It's
you're
actually
becoming. I see you're becoming. It's Krishna calls this person in the Gita, Stita Dhira Muni,
Stita Dira.
a sage of steady mind. That whether he's being praised or despised, his mind remains equipoised.
You
That
know,
is our challenge.
it's the goal of yoga. Can I
Yeah.
be in this crazy world with all the ups and downs, with all the pain and pleasure, which all the and be steady in both? It's actually, I'm seeing it as a chance for me to purify myself.
It is kind of crazy that, like most of us go through that on one level or another. But then once you're on this thing where it's like millions of people, have their opinions.
You know, it's interesting
it
because
blows the whole thing up.
It's interesting because we sometimes have one person that hates our guts in our life,
That
or
can be enough.
two people, and
Yeah.
it's like drives you crazy. It could be your boss or somebody in the workplace, but to see like 600 people actively hating you,
Maybe it makes it easier to let it go because it's just like, I don't know.
Well,
you can tell me.
Well, it's sort of like it shows sort of like the level of consciousness. Like, imagine just like somebody walking in the room and going, "Who is this asshole?" Or like someone just by your appearance hating you.
Yeah.
It's very like low level stuff. Like, and I remember being that person, like just seeing a person, summing them up, and deciding if I like them or hate them by just seeing them.
I'm still that person in many ways. I strive not to be, but it's deep.
It's like a deep rooted like arrogance I have, or it's like a deep rooted disease, truthfully.
Yeah.
And we're asked to be above it. We're asked to be above it as bhakti yogis. We're asked not to be petty like that, but that pettiness is deeply woven into appearances.
Yeah.
Prabhu, go on.
I was just thinking, and I shared this on Instagram sometime back, but that very saintly man that you and I have met before. He's passed away now, but his name was Jagat Bandhu.
Gadu.
No, well, that isn't. I was thinking Jagat Bandhu.
Okay, yeah.
Who was this? We met him. He was in his 80s, living a life of pretty much solitude in a jungle in West Bengal on the bank of the Ganges River. He'd maintained this ancient temple that's special for certain reasons, and he didn't speak English, but you would walk in there as a total stranger, and you could feel this man's love for you already. And it's like, why me? I'm just some, idiot from New York wandering into your peaceful world.
Right.
And you asking me with a sense of love that's just unusual, sit down, let me cook for you. He's running off, he's picking vegetables, he's cooking in his little like fire pit, and but just, you could feel like this person, it doesn't matter who walks through that door. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter where they're from, what to speak of race or sex or any other external consideration. Someone that's seen on the level of the soul. And I would meet someone like that who I couldn't even speak the same language as, feel I got a bump from that, right? Like feel I got a spiritual bump from that. Come back to New York City, walk down the street and feel a calling to feel a sense of kinship to every single person I see walking down the street. Then it wears off after a while, right? You feel like that for a few days and it starts to wear down, but trying to cultivate that, seeing the soul, and the soul in everyone is beautiful. And when you see something like what you're describing, just like people just responding on this level of ignorance, that's just like, I'm going to hate this person just because.
Right.
It's just a disease.
But
I can feel from you that you're not even holding it against them, and that's where we need to get. That it's like, even if you're coming at me with all kinds of ignorance,
I'm gonna love you.
I'm gonna love you.
Anyway. I love you.
That's because you've been eating all that food with the love cooked into it.
Yeah, that was another great one. So anyway, also, if you're listening to this podcast, we say also that what you do on a regular basis starts to become you. So yoga philosophy is not meant to be studied for a teacher training. It's meant to be lived and applied. And then you find it sort of like takes control of your consciousness, starts to steer your vehicle, so to speak, in a good direction, and helps you with our decision making, our choices in life. And it makes life a sweeter place to live. And sort of that's what we all want. We want to be happy. A lot of us have gone about wrong ways to be happy in life. And we don't want to live with any more regrets. We want to make optimal decisions. And this isn't for people thousands of years ago. It's very relevant today. And this is sort of me and Kaustubha's passion, is to sort of excavate this stuff, study it deeply, apply it, and see how it works. Try it on. And if it fits, I'm going to wear it. So this is where we are, Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, to keep a little update, if you're joining us newly, the story starts off about a king who's got everything, an emperor who's got everything. And he was cursed to die. And he only had 7 days to live. I was mentioning this in class yesterday in Boston, that when you know and have in the forefront of your mind that life is temporary, you start to think deeply about what is important. What are my priorities? What have I been sweating? That's so trivial. That's the minutia of life that I've been sweating. What do I want to accomplish? Who do I want to bury the hatchet with? Who do I want to forgive? What do I want to let go of? Who do I want to tell I love them and appreciate them? So you'll hear this a lot, this sort of like almost like an obsession with death, but not in a macabre. Is that the word, macabre? Mara, private school. She's always
reaching there, Raghu. Make sure you got it right.
Reaching, adding vocabulary here. Watch out. So it's not to be in a macabre way, or goth way. It is a way to sort of like, how can I utilize my life to the fullest, right? How much time do I waste? Because I think, I'll do it the next day. Why don't I get really dialed in to the importance of my existence? And this is what we find the Bhagavatam does. Reprioritize our life. Turn up the heat in like where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm hanging out with, what I'm reading, what I'm consuming, what's my concept of recreation, of pleasure, and like get really focused on what I am. And it's powerful. I find it very, very powerful to get that sober in life. And so this king is at this place. He's going to be cursed. What is the purpose? What is the duty of a man about to die? What is his meditation? What does he speak about? What does he associate with? And these are all the ongoing questions in the Bhagavatam. And they're told in these very fantastic stories of avatars, of Vishnu, of Krishna. You know, it's quite wonderful. Sometimes if you're new to this, when you hear all these stories, like, oh, it's so fantastic. It's so out of this world. And what I was saying on the Joe Rogan show was, if it's hard, because we don't like this concept of blind faith, especially in the West. We think blind faith is for the fools. It's for people who've been tricked. It's for people who are naive. It's for old world people that couldn't understand reality. Now we have deeper insight to what actually is happening with the weather, with the planets. And we say, no, you don't. We say, no, you don't. We think we know. But we're missing senses. We can't perceive anything. So when we go into the world, we can perceive something, some things. But my dog can hear sounds I can't hear, right? My dog can smell things I can't smell. How do I have a complete understanding of absolute reality? We don't. We have a tiny view of the world. Just like if I'm living under my table right here, what do I know about my front yard? What do I know about the town, upstate New York, if I'm living underneath my desk? We are living underneath my desk on this tiny planet. And I think I can even figure out absolute reality? Come on. So we don't even say it's all real, although I always say that. I always say it's all real, but it's sort of a hashtag, and it's meant to be taken lightly. We say, it could be. Do I know? No, I don't know much. I know what's happening underneath my desk in this tiny vantage point. Even the concept of we have scientific proof. I got news for you. We can't know. Isn't that a relief to know that you can't know? You can't know. Why? Just because our senses are so limited. Even if I build the biggest telescope, my eyes are still limited. My eyes are still limited. I have this massive telescope, but I have limited eyes. Big deal. I've extended my limited vision. Should we say our opening mantras first, or should we go into Aditi's question? We left off with Aditi's question.
Why don't we go ahead and do the mantras, and then whatever you prefer. But
all right,
either way,
let's do the mantras.
Okay.
These are invocation mantras. Narayana namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya, bhagavati utamashloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely vanquished or destroyed. How do they get vanquished? And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we're going to start. By the way, if you're listening new, we have a Zoom group. And how many people? We got 70 people on Zoom this morning. We call them live. Sometimes people show up, like Maris here today. We call that live. And then we got the people we have no idea who's listening to. We walk down the street. We've run into some people. I listen every day. We call them the others. So the others are out there. And then we have a whole special race of people we call the Californians. And if they're listening to it live, we know they're up too late. They should be in bed right now.
Subgroup of the others.
They're a subgroup of the others, yes. Okay, here's Aditi's question. Good morning, Prabhu. Can I do it with Aditi's accent? Good morning, Prabhu. I am pasting a question yesterday for reference. I have a follow-up on the airplane analogy. Please correct me if I am wrong. You said destination is like destiny. And what you do on the plane is free will. With bhakti, can we intentionally change the destiny as well? Should we even try to change the destination? I am trying to understand, what is my ultimate prayer? Great question.
Very good question.
I just want to rephrase what I said, what she's commenting about. We were on the Joe Rogan show, and Joe said, we were talking about astrology. And he said, well, this is I can't remember his exact quote, but something like, this is determinism. Like, your life is determined. And, Christian missionaries would accuse anybody who believed in astrology as, in a deterministic world, how can there be free will to love God? If everything is determined, nothing can change, you're condemned or you're free. So they always pushed, no, it's all free will. There is nothing about determinism here. Now, I don't know if that's all missionaries, and I don't know if that's all Christians, etc. But that's how I understood how the missionaries would preach to the Hindus. So we say there is a type of karma that happens to us. And sometimes you can see it. I can see it in my own life. I can see how, if I look at back, the first time I got my Jyotish done when I was, 25.
Your astrological chart
using the Vedic astrology. It was very, very accurate. It was like reading an autobiography of my life. Even if I look at my 10 years later, which is now the past, I was like, yep, that happened too. I met palm readers who see these patterns in your palm or in your astrology, and they're like, yeah, that's going to happen. So we say that is like your determinant factor. And it's like, and I use the analogy of getting on a plane to Hawaii or getting on a plane to Denver. That is our karma. We're going there. What you do on that plane That's your free will. You can go to sleep on the plane. You can get drunk on the plane. You can watch a movie on the plane. What you do you can have a deep conversation on the plane. What we do according to that karma is our free will, and that is going to change future karmas. Now, you can change your destination, or it's not like you can necessarily, but God is above karma, or Bhagavan is above karma. Krishna is above karma. By the way, if you're new to the show, we accept that there's one higher power. You can give that higher power many, many names. God, higher power, sweet baby Krishna, whatever you want to call God in your life. But God is higher than karma. Karma is dictated by the gunas. And as a conditioned soul, we are puppets under these gunas. And we're moving according to our attachments. The things that we think are us and our free will is just some karma acting out. The yoga process is an access point out of the gunas. It's an access point out of the material world. That's what's powerful about yoga, not because it's going to be good for my hamstrings. That's important too, in such a tiny way that it takes away my belly fat. Great news. In the big picture, it gets me an access point out of repeated birth and death. It gets me an access point out of being a slave to some type of, scribed destiny, and to be a slave to some guna that controls me like anything. If you're born tamasic, we have very little free will. So the yoga point elevates the consciousness to sattva, and it gives us a freedom to get out of regular gunas or even regular sattva to what's called Shuddha sattva, where we start to transcend matter. It's incredibly powerful. Kaustubha, you want to continue with that, please?
Sure. The analogy of the airplane, as you just described what it illustrates is that in some ways, what it's saying is that the way that karma works, it's almost like we've stepped into a virtual reality, and there are laws that apply. There's coding into that virtual reality, and based on our decisions, we start moving in different directions.
I love when Kaustubha brings the virtual reality thing. That's his forte, I think.
I think so, but it's like, according to once you're in that virtual reality, according to the decisions that you make, your freedom to make the next choice either becomes expanded or contracted. So like, for instance, once you step on an airplane, you've limited your freedom, right? Because now you're going from New York to LA, and that decision's done, and you're moving in that direction. The results of that decision are going to play out no matter what you do. Now, you still have some freedom regarding what you do while you're on the plane. You can read, you can sleep, you can watch a film, you could talk to someone. You have a limited amount of freedom, but you've kind of made a decision that's strictly limited your freedom. You're going to LA now, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you're in a car, you step into a car, you turn on the engine, and you've got this freedom to travel. I'm going to go in, I can choose, I'm going to go left or I can go right. But once I choose I'm going left, or what to speak of, here's another decision. I'm going to choose to take this car up to 100 miles per hour. Now, that's my freedom. I chose to do that. I had that. If I want to take up to 1,000, I don't have that ability, but I've been given a certain amount of freedom to take it up to, let's say, 100. Now, once I've made that choice, I've limited my other choices. I'm not going to be able to turn quickly. I'm not going to be able to stop quickly because I've made that choice.
I'm stealing this analogy, man.
All right, it's a good one, right?
It's a good one. It's a good one. You lose once you turn it up to 100, you've lost a certain type of freedom.
Right. And so what the yoga philosophy is saying is that we make choices in life. I may choose, you see, generally people are making choices based on 3 different paradigms. And this is what the Bhagavatam is dealing with. One is called a karmic paradigm, where my idea is I want to enjoy the things of this world. And I believe that external things will give me happiness, that's the way to happiness. If I get the right this or if I get the right that, I will be happy. Let me pursue those things in this world. And that's called karma. And once I point my plane in that direction, I'm going to start making decisions based on the freedom that allows me. And if I choose to do that, I get really bound in a network because all my decisions are based on illusion. Now there's another, now yoga philosophy comes along and says, hey, there's another way to look at life. You could look at this world as it's a big trap. It's something that you're meant to escape. It's something that you're meant to break free from. Become free from all the sufferings of this world. And that's called jnana. So there's karma and then there's jnana. These words, these terms are used in different ways, but just use, right now we're using them as worldviews. The jnanic view is whatever decision I make, if my plane is headed towards material enjoyment, it always ends up in suffering. So I'm going to point my plane to breaking free of this world, right? And then I'll have decisions to make when I'm going that way. But this Srimad Bhagavatam is considered that the author who wrote all of the works on karma and jnana, like the Vedas and the Upanishads, he finished them up with the Bhagavad Gita and ultimately the Bhagavatam to explain that here's a better place to point your plane. Not trying to enjoy the things of this world, not trying to escape the sufferings of this world. Point your plane at pure love, because that's actually what you as a soul, as a spark of spiritual energy, that's actually what you're designed to do. You're designed to love. And that's why even when you're pointing your plane at materialism, you're searching for love, you know, and even when you're pointing it at like, say, liberation or freedom from suffering, it's out of it's often out of a need of like a loss of love, you know, like a broken, you know, a feelings of brokenness or dissatisfaction with the material world. But ultimately we're designed. So if Aditi's question is, where should I point my plane? The Bhagavatam is saying you point your plane that this is where I want to go. I want to go towards pure bhakti. Now, according to past decisions in my life, I may have, like, look at you, Raghu. Like, you want to express what you've gained and what you've found through your practice of bhakti, and you want to share it with people. And you know, and I know other people like that too. Now, somehow based apparently on your karma, you had the opportunity to share it with like literally millions of people, you know, and some people based on their karma, maybe will share it with one person. And it's not, you know, maybe that's what, for whatever reason, they're limited to that. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that you've pointed your plane in that direction and you're going that way. You know, some people are going to choose to get married. Some people will live as a monk their entire life. That's the freedom on the plane, but you point your plane in that direction. And if we do, you see, the way that the virtual reality is designed is that when we act out of harmony with our true nature, which is to love, to be compassionate, to be kind, et cetera, when we make decisions that are against that, our freedom gets limited more and more and more. You know, if we only pursue materialism, here's another example. Say, and this is what Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or the yoga philosophy in general say, that wherever we see birth, growth, reproduction, disease, ultimately dwindling and death, that means the soul is there, a spark of spiritual energy. And that means that's in humans, that's in animals, and that's in plants. And that the souls in each of these, we travel through all these different kind of bodies. So imagine we took birth as an animal, right? You can look at an animal, right? Like, you ever look at an animal in the eyes there, Raghu, and your sheep over there?
All the time.
Right? Now, I think, you know, we all kind of realize we have a lot of dog people here. I mean, sometimes we even see them, you know, on the Zoom. And you look in the eyes of the dog and you realize there's a person in there.
There's a being.
There's a being in there that feels and has emotions like I do, but they're limited. You know, even they think they're free, like the dog, you know, the dog's freedom is limited. You know, will I go up onto the couch or will I lie down on the floor? You know, and whereas when you get to that human, but it doesn't have the freedom that we have to say, let me read this book of philosophy and try to figure out what's going on with life. Right now, therefore, books like the Yoga Sutras begin with what is it? Atato Yoga Anushasanam. Now is the time to practice yoga, or the Vedanta Sutra, Tato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire into the absolute, because you're in the human form. Your freedom has been expanded. You know, you have the ability to question, what is this all about? What am I doing? Where am I going? And if you can make choices that are in harmony with that, your freedom will expand and expand, expand. Just like we read about the story of Narada, where he said, you know, when I went into a deep meditation, I achieved a state of connection with God. My past karma was destroyed. He said my fruit of activities were destroyed. The fruits of my previous work was destroyed. In other words, the limitations that I had created by my past decisions was wiped clean. And now I'm free and I travel wherever I want in a state of bliss. You know, I don't know. I poured out a lot. I hope that
it was great.
The
I think
DT's
it answered
question.
everybody's question. You know, I think there are statements that you can change your karma or change your destiny. I've always felt that, you know, my band got a certain, like with my karma, I was in a band. The band could have been bigger, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe according to my karma. I don't know, sure, but this is what I'm speculating. It could have been bigger, but perhaps Krishna intervened, because maybe if I was bigger, it would have ruined my spiritual life. See, Krishna intervenes for the bhakta because you become in Krishna's hands. And so then if he sees that you can get purified through your karma, which is very common, you get purified through your karma, he'll let you go through your karma, but he can also change that karma if that will purify you or hurt you. So if fame would have hurt me more, he can limit that karma.
Sure.
Or he feels like, you know, actually fame will be good for him. He can make me more famous when it's not in my karma to be more famous. So I think that's a sort of like an important, you know, factor as well. Like Krishna can intervene with karma. It's our
Krishna
job
is in the virtual reality analogy. Krishna is the coder of the virtual reality, right?
Krishna's the coder. He decides. Yeah, exactly.
So he can. Yeah.
Good morning, daughter Sachi.
Oh, good morning to Sachi.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope that answered your question, Aditi. You know what happens with a lot of time, and with most Indians in general, people who are not necessarily Vaishnavas, but Vaishnavas too, is we get so wrapped up in the astrology. Like Mara. I had to. No, it's true. She had an astrologer.
You had to talk her down a little.
I had to talk her down off the astrology ledge in India. We get caught up in the astrology. What's our destiny? What's going to happen? That we actually we try to go after like planets or demigods and try to say, oh, I got to worship this demigod or do this puja to change some karma that's happening to me, because I don't want that to happen. The biggest picture is that we understand whatever we got, we got. That's the highest thing. We can't always live on the highest plan. Whatever I got, I got. I used to say that to my kids when they were little. I want the red one. I want the blue one. I want the green one. You get what you get, and don't be upset. That should be a tattoo. Anyone need a new tattoo? You get what you get, and don't be upset.
Okay.
Write that one down there. You get what you get. And then once that's bhakti, I accept what I got. This is what Krishna's given me. Sometimes he doesn't give me the beautiful picture that you want in life.
The beautiful picture.
Picture. It's got some like, you're not seeing the whole picture. You're seeing the highlight reel of the picture, the Instagram photo of reality. You know, ever see these like completely romantic Instagram photos? Like, wow, these guys are in love. These guys are in love. These guys are in love. All of a sudden, it's like there's a new person in that picture. Oh, I guess they weren't in love. And the whole time you're looking at those pictures, like, why? I want to be in love like they're in love. Instagram is not giving you a whole. It's advertising. It's giving you a highlight reel of reality, and not the whole full picture. Reality is much different. So,
maybe just to wrap the thing up a little bit, to put a bow on the thing, then the question is, well, why am I stuck in this virtual reality, and why am I exposed to this law of karma that's expanding or limiting my freedom? And the idea is that because we've chosen to act against our nature, the karma is meant to educate us. We're meant to actually learn through it. And then and the devotee, the one who's pointed his plane towards that bhakti and says, I just want pure truth, then they're cultivating the idea that no matter what's happening to me externally, I accept it and I can transcend it in consciousness. And so I don't become so obsessed with changing the things. So that famous verse in Bhagavatam comes, Tatenu kampam shushamukshimanaha, that for one who accepts all of their karma,
Mm.
even though the really difficult things in life, and from the core of their heart is connecting with God, saying, actually, I probably deserve worse things in life, just to do all my previous bad decisions, right? That person, the full freedom, becomes their rightful claim, right? Mukti pade svadaya bhak, that mukti, complete liberation, complete freedom from all the bondage, becomes, once I get it, I don't need to keep changing things in this world. I need to change myself internally. Then the freedom opens up.
Can I just share one more point I was thinking about? Because someone brought it up yesterday, how I find someone was saying how as they get more serious, Krishna tests them. I don't like to look at tests coming from Krishna. I like to think of Krishna, and I think this is the actual way to look at it, is Krishna is beyond the testing of us. Krishna is a transcendental, loving being who's waiting for us to embrace him. And the tests are coming from the material universe and from Maya. And that's Maya's job, keep us in illusion. And Maya's job is to keep the riffraff out of the spiritual world. What do you think of that?
And try to rectify the riffraff.
Yeah, rectify. So then we'll get the test. How serious are you? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm dead serious. Okay, try this one on. Boom.
Guess you weren't so serious.
Yeah, I think you weren't so serious. And before we can get to hang and play ball with Krishna, Maya wants to make sure we are qualified. Krishna's waiting for us, and he's eager for us, but he's not trying to test us, throw hurdles at us, torture us with hurricanes and, chronic disease. That's not Krishna's job. That's our desire to be in the material world and to see ourselves as separate from the center.
Mm.
Where we think we are the center. Any problems of the material world, we're creating from our desire to stay in the material world and see ourselves as separate than the whole. Don't blame Krishna for that.
Gotcha.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's just fulfilling our desire. We wanted a little bit of illusion. He's providing it. Well, through his separated energy. We're going to wrap up a chapter today, probably, if we ever get to it.
We'll get it.
And then early in the next chapter, it talks about, after hearing these instructions from Narada, Vyasadeva will go into his meditation.
Mm.
And in his meditation, he'll see Krishna. But he'll also see Krishna's Maya, or Krishna's external energy, behind him. And then he sees how all the living entities are prone to becoming illusioned by that energy. And how Bhagavatam is the way to kind of break, how devotional service or bhakti is the way to break that. It's really great stuff coming up.
That was the teaser.
Yeah, it's a teaser.
Okay, let's dive into this.
All right.
We're in Canto 1, Chapter 6, Text 35.
I think we're on 36.
I got a whole real book today.
Oh, good. You got that back. Okay. Did someone return it? Who had your book? Rachel.
I was too lazy to get it in the... Is this Rachel's? No. This is mine. This is mine from the library. Okay.
So I think we're on 36.
Oh, 36. Okay, sorry. Text 36.
Narada speaking.
O Vyasadeva, you are freed from all sins. When we say
karma.
sins, yeah, we got to say karma. I don't even like to use these Christian words, not because I don't like Christianity, because some people have bad tastes in their mouth from growing up Christian, but in sort of a not a healthy way. So I like veer away from using these like Christian words and just saying things like, "Oh, Vyasadeva, you are free from all types of bad karma or bad reactions."
It's a little bit of a more scientific way, in a sense, of saying it.
Yeah.
A yogic way.
Weird. People are just so averse to God nowadays that they have to almost like dance. I call it the G word. You got to dance around the God word, but whatever you want to call God, we're talking about the same thing. I don't say God. I say the universe. Well, what's the universe? Well, the universe is all knowing, all benevolent. Well, that's God. You just give it a different
Yeah,
name.
because when you say sin, it's
I
kind
don't
of
want.
like
I don't want a pie. I just want a baked thing with apples in it and some cinnamon and a light flaky crust. But I don't want pie.
But when you say
Sounds like
sin, I think in many minds, what that conjures up is there's this random set of rules that you're not allowed to do all the fun things, and when you do them, you're bad.
Right.
And what this is really
And you're
saying is
condemned.
that you've made decisions that go against your true spiritual nature, and here are the results to it.
Right.
Right. So that's like say that you're bad karma.
So it's some karma, some karma. You don't act in a way that's gonna heal you. That you act in a way that's gonna harm you.
Yeah. That's
And-
called that. So
and
that's what sin means here.
Yeah. So Vyasadeva, you are freed from all bad karma. Thus, I've explained my birth and activities for self-realization as you asked. All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also. The process, here's a little bit of the purport, if I may.
Yeah. Please.
The process of devotional activities from the beginning to the stage of transcendence is all duly explained to satisfy the inquiries of Vyasadeva. He has explained how the seeds of devotional service were sown by transcendental association and how they gradually develop by hearing from the sages.
Okay, so that's the first thing that's been explained in this chapter.
That's a big one. The
That was-
seeds of transcendental information are sown by the association of saintly people.
The sages. Sages are in the pages. We get to associate with them too.
Ooh, did you just make that up? Sages
No,
are
that
in
was the
pages?
title of our first one. I made it up on our first episode.
All right, sages are in the pages. Okay,
Sages
good.
in the pages.
The result of such hearing and detachment from worldliness, so much so that even a small boy like Narada could receive the death news of his mother, who is his only caretaker, as a blessing. Right?
Okay, so
you
that
start
was
to
just-
see like
yeah.
everything is a blessing. Here's a child. My mother's dead. This is a blessing.
This is a summary of the whole chapter. First, Vyasadeva made his inquiries of Narada. Narada explained how as a young boy, the seeds of bhakti were sown into him by associating with these great sages. And the result of that was that when Narada's mother died, even though he was a 5-year-old boy, rather than just be in total fear, he said, just as you were saying earlier, just today, that like those challenges in life, you could say, or difficulties in life, one could see them that's God intervening, preventing me from acting in a way that would be more harmful to me. So as a 5-year-old, the death of his only caretaker, his mother, he said, this is actually a blessing. And then it continues. The story continues.
It's real realization. It's the deepest realization. We
Yeah.
tend to think like God is our Amazon Prime, our metaphysical Amazon Prime. I pray for this, I pray for that, I pray for this, and I want it in one day, overnight, delivered by a drone.
and it's also why the yogis have to be careful not to get too into the astrology, like you're saying, right?
Yeah, because
rather than
it can
try
be
to,
like metaphysical materialism.
yeah, exactly. It's materialism, and I'm actually
Metaphysical materialism.
I'm trying to get around the things that I need to grow.
Right. You think, what you're really saying is like, thank you, God. I appreciate your plan, but let me share with you my plan. I think you're going to like it.
Change it a little.
Let me change it. Like, here's the deal. I get everything, but I understand it's not important.
Yeah.
Well, that is your plan, but I've got another idea. You're going to lose everything. I hear what you're saying, but listen, hear me out, God. I get everything. I have everything, but I see it as God's.
Right.
No, you're getting nothing. So it's like we're always trying to outdo God's plan. But, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we wonder why, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita itself, it's like the worship of demigods, it's less intelligent because all the stuff is coming from me anyway.
There you go.
Anyway.
Okay. Continue. You want to continue with this? It's a short commentary.
Do you mind picking it up? My eyes are squinty. I'm having
All
a
right.
problem seeing today.
Oh, you still don't have glasses?
I lost them.
Man,
Lost my hat.
I lost my
I
glasses
lost
yesterday too.
my Scott Bakos hat, and I lost my glasses.
I lost mine. I left it in the Bhakti Center. If anyone from the Bhakti Center is listening to this, please go to the temple around the Vyasa and secure my glasses. I think they're around there. A sincere urge. At once he took the opportunity. So his mother died. It says, at once he took the opportunity to search out the Lord. A sincere urge for having an interview with the Lord. An interview.
I like that.
To have a vision of the Lord or darshan of the Lord. A sincere urge for having an interview with the Lord was also granted to him, although it is not possible for anyone to see the Lord with mundane eyes. He also explained how by execution of pure transcendental service, pure bhakti, one can get rid of the fruit of action of accumulated work, the karma. So,
Isn't that interesting? Accumulated work.
Accumulated work, the result of your actions, the result of your choices, the result of your work. I was thinking, you mentioned that karma can be changed. And of course, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami has written that interesting statement that when you clap your hands in front of the deities, when you clap your hands in front of the forms of Krishna or Radha and Krishna, it says the lines change. Right.
The lines in your hands change. It's like the birds of karma fly away. Like you're actually changing your karma just by clapping and singing in a kirtan. Whether that's cool? I always love that statement.
Purely metaphorical or not. In other words, it's saying that your karma can be eliminated by bhakti. Because the whole point of the virtual reality is that you turn back to the coder and say, hey, you know what? I get the message now. I want to come back to you. I remember you now, and I remember how great it was to be connected with you in love. And then it's like, okay, now I had a whole, the thing was programmed. You can break out of the programming now. And so when you clap your hands in front of the deities, in other words, when you begin to, with joy, connect with God again, then your whole karmic plan doesn't need to be carried out the way it was laid out previously. Okay, so he also explained how by execution of bhakti, one can get rid of the bad karma of accumulated work, and how he transformed his material body into a spiritual one. The material body is the result of karma. He got a spiritual body, which is the result of the freedom of karma. The spiritual body is alone able to enter into the spiritual realm, and no one but a pure devotee is eligible to enter into there. All the mysteries of transcendental realization are duly experienced by Narada Muni himself. He experienced this transformation, and therefore by hearing such an authority, in other words, he's not just making up, he went through it. He's speaking from his own experience. By hearing from such an authority, one can have some idea of the results of bhakti, which are hardly delineated, they're hardly touched, this kind of thing, even in the original text of the Vedas. In the Vedas and Upanishads, there are only indirect hints to all this. And that's why people get so mixed up with different ideas about yoga, etc. Nothing is directly explained there, and therefore Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of all the Vedic trees of literatures. It was in this text that we're reading now where everything's meant to be just laid out very plainly and very directly. There you go.
Nice. All right, text 37. Sutta Goswami said, so Sutta Goswami is addressing all of the sages. He's the head sage that witnessed the king speaking to Sukadev Goswami. And he witnessed it, and he's going back and he's explaining it to all these other sages who are all liberated souls in their own right. Thus addressing Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his veena, that's his musical instrument, was left to wander at his free will.
There you go. You see, because now he was reconnected, he's free. He goes wherever he wants to go. He's not limited by his past choices. His karma was destroyed.
Here's a nice first statement of the purport. Every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is their transcendental nature.
There you
Isn't
go.
that incredible? That, like, we want full freedom. Why? Because it's our nature to be free, but we're confused on how to become free. We think indulgence in the senses gives us freedom, and we find that indulgence in the senses takes away our freedom. We
Yeah.
become slaves to those very things that we think are giving us freedom. It's such a trap.
There
The
you
whole
go.
world is like a mouse trap, isn't it? It's like a baited trap.
I always share that story that, like, and you have a similar story. Like, when I was a 15-year-old kid, I started hanging out downtown, Manhattan.
My 15-year-old daughter's here. You might want to keep them changed.
Keep it G-rated.
And then we went to Disneyland, and
So I was doing things there.
Was
but I felt, when I stepped out on those streets, I felt like I'm free. As you're 15-year-old, you're making your own decisions. You're doing what you want now. Don't do anything, Sachi, that Raghunath doesn't tell you to do. But the point was, I wasn't actually truly free. I was just pursuing what I had been told was exciting, and what I was told was cool, and what I was told was fun, and was,
Sure.
To me, it seemed very, all the things, I won't mention them, but all those things, seemed to me like they were expressions of my own freedom. Now I recognize, sometimes it's said, it's like a bull with a ring in its nose,
Right.
It's just, even a child can control that bull. I can pull you over here, I can pull you over there, like a big oxen, the thing's so powerful. Right. I was just being pulled by my nose, being pulled in this direction, this music, this scene, these girls, these drugs, this, all these different things. I thought, I'm free. And I look back at it now and say, my God, I was totally controlled. Yeah. So now here we hear about Narada, and he's saying that he was now free. His karma had been destroyed. He was now free. And this sentence that you read, every living being is anxious for full freedom. We want full freedom because that is our transcendental nature. When we act against our transcendental nature, when we're cruel, when we're callous, when we're bewildered in different ways, then the way that the virtual reality or the karma works is it binds us and gives us experiences of pain when we act against our transcendental nature. When we act in harmony with that nature, it opens up and our freedom expands. And when we completely let go of all material desires and completely connected with that divine source again, then we're totally free. And Narada is like the emblem of that spiritual freedom,
Right. He's so free. He's walking between time and universes and planets. It's the ultimate.
Just playing his music, right?
And just playing music,
blowing people away with his transcendental instrument, and he's free.
All music. He's the worshipable deity of all musicians.
Actually, I think at the end of this, is it here, or maybe it's in the other? There's one where Prabhupada talks about all the notes in the, maybe we missed it, it may have been back, but he talks about all the notes in the scale for the ragas and how they're all meant to be offered. Oh. It's not here.
I'll just continue with that purport.
Sure.
And this freedom is obtained only through transcendental service of the Lord.
Not through karma, not through jnana, through bhakti.
It sounds almost
sectarian.
No, I was going to say counterintuitive. My freedom is done through service. What?
Yeah.
Illusioned by the external energy, everyone thinks that he is free, but actually he's bound up by the laws of nature. A conditioned soul cannot freely
That's what I was just saying.
From one place to another.
I was just saying that.
That's another one of our, if you're new to the show, that's another one of our hashtags, is when me and Kaustubha are talking about something and then we read it.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
So that's what I was just saying, right?
I was just saying.
Everyone thinks he's free, but actually he's bound up by the laws of nature.
Wow. Are we running? Wow. How fast is this show over? You got to read one more verse, quick. It's all set up. So last verse here. All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni, because he glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead. And so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe.
All glories to Sri Narada.
Yeah. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Conversations Between Narada
And
the
Vyasa.
next chapter, chapter 7, the son of Drona punished. That's a good one.
Getting heavy. Hey, maybe you should tell
and it's
people where to write,
time.
Raghu.
Oh,
Wanna
yeah.
show
Hey, if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, if you're new to this, welcome. You can always reach out to us, ask us questions at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Any questions you have, or if you want to join our Zoom group, you write to wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Mara, our very educated private school captain of the girls field hockey team, will write you back promptly. Thanks for everybody for joining us. We do this every day. Make it your new addiction. And thanks for everybody on Zoom. Shri Krishna. Turn that namaste into a hand clap.
It's great to have Mara back.
It's great to have Mara. I haven't seen her since India. And thanks for everybody joining us later on Zoom. People I haven't seen. Clifford Dean. Who we got here I haven't seen yet. Sarka, Christopher, Lauren, Carmen, Suryaji. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. I love listening to this song every day. Radhe. And anytime you guys hear this song, you'll think of the show. Jai Radhe. Lindsay Scott, good to see you. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. Cabrera family, good to see you. Shamuna Jaya, always in action. Shamuna Jaya in action, we call her. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. Bruna, good to see you. Radhe.